everyone, welcome to Automation, the Car Company Tycoon game. Today we're going to be playing in the sandbox mode. As you can see, I already have a crap ton of pre-made vehicles. I do have a bit of experience with this game. Today I would like to make an older sedan or wagon, depending on what kind of body style I find. One of the things about Automation and BeamNG is that specifically when speaking about suspension tuning is that in BeamNG suspensions are often softer than it says they are in Automation. A lot of times it'll say your suspension's too stiff, but then you get into BeamNG and the damn thing bottoms out over a pebble, and so that's what I've learned to avoid by just making the suspension more stiff. You don't want to do anything super outrageous, but you just need to find a good balance on your own. Like, it's something everyone eventually works out. After doing something for a certain amount of time, you eventually work it out. Looking at body styles here, I think I'm going to choose the 1965 wagon body. Let's change that year back, 1980, 72. You could pass that off as a 70s car. We'll do 1974. That should be good. Sweet. Okay, now that we got that, go ahead and make the material steel, and then monocoque, steel, front longitudinal. Probably double wishbones in the front. And you could either do a solid coil rear or solid leaf rear. 2 coils, just for the fun of it. And then increase quality by 1. We'll do a 90-degree V8 with cast iron, and we're going to make this thing big. We're going to make it 8 liters. I think that's as good as it's going to get. Push rod, of course. Cast iron. Forged pistons. Increase quality to 5 so we don't have like a 3000 RPM rev limit. Now here's the part that's a bit more tricky. And if you don't know how to play Automation, maybe pay attention to this a little bit. This right here is how you start tuning your engine. Most older cars have lower compression. Most newer cars have higher compression. You could basically start it almost anywhere you want, but you'll just have to tune the rest of the engine to fit that way. This is an older one, so I'm going to make the compression relatively low, 7.5. Maybe, let's do 7.8. And then cam profile, we're going to lower that down a bit too, probably 30. Come back to that if it's not low enough. Carbureted, because it's from the 70s. 1974. I can't remember if that's the year the oil crisis started or not, so I don't know if we want an eco single barrel. Probably not. 2-barrel single carb. There we go. That's fine. And then 1970, so they would have gotten rid of lead fuel, so go for regular 91, just because 80 is garbage. Fuel mixture, put a 30.5, come back to it if it's too high. It's just you don't have to get it right on the spot, you just get like a relative idea, and then you'll get suggestions, oh, you need to lower this, or this is too high, and you just tweak it each thing and see which one gives more power and gets rid of more power, or makes the torque curve more smooth, and it's as simple as that. I'm gonna set the RPM limit, even if it's higher than 5,000. It's a 8-liter V8 from the 70s, so 5,000 is probably good enough. Go short cast just because I like my vehicles having a bit more horsepower. 2.5-inch exhaust, catalytic converter, a little bit of 2-way, because this is when they started needing them. We'll do baffled. The engine is knocking. See, it says here, consider lowering the compression or ignition timing. Now, our compression is already pretty low. Our ignition timing is pretty high, and as you can see, as we lower it, it shows you the percentage that the engine is knocking, and so now the engine's no longer knocking, and we can tweak it, tweak the fuel mixtures and the cam profile to increase horsepower and smoothen out the torque curve. You gotta be careful. Cam profile will slowly take away at peak torque, and it usually adds more horsepower, but all you want, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want just like a nice curve in general. It's a big V8, so of course it has all the power down low, and you would think an 8-liter V8 would have 400 plus horsepower, which it probably would if it was 4 years earlier, but we're in the fuel crisis now, so this is what we got to deal with. As you can see here, it says that highest RPM would be 5600 here, because that's the lowest number. But 5000 is good enough. Alright, now here is the part where you can pretty much just do whatever you want. I will probably just speed this part of the video up, because you can just design whatever you want. See how this goes. Once you've finished putting fixtures on your vehicle, designing it how you want to, we're going to move on to the drivetrain. And for this wagon, it's obviously going to be rear-wheel drive, 3-speed automatic. The estimated top speed is 225, and you always want to make the gearing a bit higher than the estimated top speed, because it'll usually push past 225. Let's see, 224, 229, 235. That'll be fine. This will have long gears, so 85 should be good. We'll go for 90. Why not? Right? 90 kilometers an hour first gear. Open rear differential. We're gonna actually decrease it a little bit just because it's 1970s. Transmission, you lose all that power through the drivetrain. We're gonna go for my favorite kind of tires, sports compound radials, only for BeamNG purposes because all the other tire compounds have almost no grip at all. Now, for an older wagon like this, the tire width is already 205, which is pretty good, and you don't want to make them much more wider because you gotta leave that classic gap between the fender and the wheel. But the rear wheels can probably be increased a bit, probably 230. That's good. 230 is fine. And they're definitely way too small. I mean, look at it. The car is absolutely massive. So it definitely needs way thicker tires. Probably 28, yeah. That's pushing it a little bit. That's a little too big. 24. That's good right there. We're probably gonna go for 15-inch rims only because of the size of the tires, just to even it out a bit. 15-inch rims in 1970 were not very common, but this isn't real life, so yeah. I always make the quality of the tires higher, one of the highest, no matter what vehicle I'm making, again for BeamNG purposes, because adds more grip, and grip is very much needed for automation vehicles in Beam. And for brakes, I don't really pay attention to brakes a whole lot. I just kind of max it out, usually between 55 and 60 for pad type, and I like to do 60-40 for the brake bias. Put that up to 5. No under tray cooling. This is an old car, so it's gonna have crappy cooling and very minimal brake airflow. I'll crank that up to 20. Now here's the fun part. 3 seats in the front, 3 seats in the middle, 3 seats in the back. 9 passengers. That's perfect. Then we're gonna do premium interior with a premium 8-track. And then, do we want power steering? We'll use power steering, hydraulic, and then safety. I'll do advanced 60s, put it at 5, because safety still didn't really matter at this time. We'll use progressive springs, gas monotube, and we have to increase the ride height a bit. How much would be good? 9.5. You almost want the middle of the tire to meet up, but not quite. And that's not for every vehicle, that's just for certain vehicles, especially older ones. A lot of times the bottom of the vehicle almost meets up with the middle of the tire, but that's not always the case, so don't always make it that tall or else it'll look weird. But this is a big wagon, big American wagon. I think that should be good. 9.7. We'll do 9.6, just that 0.1 more, just to make sure. Now, right away, sway bars, that's going all the way down. The rear one especially, no rear sway bar at all. We're probably gonna put that down to 200. How much does this weigh? When tuning the suspension, it's a good idea to know how much the vehicle weighs, and the weight distribution, so you know how to tune the suspension between the front and the rear, because this little chart right here isn't exactly the most accurate. But anyways, we'll go ahead and take down the camber a bit from the front tires. So 1980. Let's see, I gotta do a conversion. So 1,980 kilograms is 4,365 pounds. So we're gonna I'm gonna increase the front, and it's 5347. So I'm gonna go 4, then 2, 4.20, and then I like to match this and then just usually take it down by 4 notches. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's an older car, so I'm gonna do 5, 6 as well. And for this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see it doesn't perfectly line up. It doesn't really matter, because the different suspension types act differently in BeamNG regardless of what that chart says. I wish it was accurate to how it would be in BeamNG, but it's really not, sadly. So maybe that'll be something they fix in the future. Not the greatest looking vehicle. It's not meant to be the greatest looking vehicle. It's a family wagon, big brown family station wagon. And the design's not really what matters. This video is just kind of meant to help you get the basics of how to make an automation vehicle and tune it so it works in BeamNG the best. And I think that should be good. I'm sure the suspension might be a little too squishy, and I might have to come back and fix it, make it a bit more stiff, but we'll just see how it is right now and go from there. And here is our automation creation in BeamNG. It definitely sits a lot better than it did in the previews. Alright, let's start it up, see how it drives. So, like I said, the rear suspension, even though it was still lower than the front, is still stiffer. So you can't always trust it. But it doesn't bottom out. It's soft enough that it doesn't bottom out, but so that's good. Alright, well there you go. Now you know how to make a working automation car. You know how the basics of engine tuning works. Pretty simple. You literally just follow what I did. Just do simple steps. You start off with the compression and you work from there. It's really simple once you get the hang of it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.